Welcome, everybody, to the Huddle, KGUN9's weekly streaming sports talk show. Back after a week off, I'm Jason Barr, joined by Pat Parris. Pat, good afternoon. How are you today?
I'm good. Looking forward to today.
We are talking soccer today. We've got a special guest and then someone to help us with our special guest. Our special guest is Sebastian Pineda. He is the head coach of FC Tucson. FC Tucson, the local soccer team here for USL League Two. They are making a deep playoff run. And joining us with Sebastian as we bring him in is Dave Ord. He is assignment desk editor at KGUN9, but also more importantly, or just as important, he is a soccer expert and aficionado. It's going to help bring some context to this conversation. Coach Pineda, congrats on the deep playoff run you guys are making. Jason and Pat, and Dave, how are you today?
Thank you guys for having me. All good today. Excited after those 2 wins at home and looking forward for this weekend.
Yeah, you not only had to battle those two teams, but a little bit about the weather at Keno Stadium this past weekend. And what does it say about your team that you're able to come up with 2 tough wins like that?
I think that we went through up and downs throughout the season, and the team was ready for these moments. Funny, they got used to the delays, the weather delays, and you could see it before the game, just relax, getting ready for the game, waiting for the moment to go out. And man, what a weekend it was for us.
Yeah, certainly was. Sebastian, your team now 10 straight unbeaten games, 7 wins and 3 draws in that. What has been the difference during this 10-game stretch that maybe earlier in the season you weren't playing quite that well?
I think that the most important part was to find the right chemistry between the players. And I think at the beginning it always takes a little bit of time with that many players from different cultures, different teams. They come into Tucson, and then I got to start figuring out who does who and what they're good at. And eventually, once that started happening, we still struggle a little bit, but they understood what the plan was. They got to know each other better, and the results started to come.
And I just want to add, they have a pretty darn good coach, too.
Thank you.
Dave, ask away. You got
all right. Well, the first one I was going to ask you about was how do you scout a team like Project 510 or 510, depending on how you look at it, the way they type it. How do you approach that? I mean, you can't see them very often. Do you get film? What do you do?
And just to clarify, Project 510 is the team that FC Tucson is going to play on Friday in the USL League Two Western Conference Finals. So that's who they play. Yeah, go ahead, Coach.
Well, we're in the time that video is the main thing that we go to. Fortunately for us, we get to see 2 big games from them. They went up there to the Seattle, Portland area, and they beat the 2 top teams. One of them, the champion from last year. So we get to see a team perform against a team like Ballard and then United PDX that they had a very strong regular season. So I think it's going to give us a clear view of who they are and what their tendencies are. And then after that, the world of soccer is small, so we're connected very well. As a staff, we'll be able to talk with people in that area that play against them and just trying to get as many details as we can. But I believe that at the end of the day, once I go back to the team, I'll give them basics of who they are. I don't want to overload them with information, but they do need to know who they're playing against. But we're going to focus on what we need to do first.
Project 510 is the team from Oakland, California, who they're going to play in the Western Conference Finals in the Elite Eight, I guess you could say, of USL League Two soccer. Coach Pineda, you have a little bit of an interesting goalie situation. Your goalie for most of the regular season, if not all of it, was from the University of Louisville, but apparently he had to be called back or something, and now you've got a local guy who took over and did a good job this past weekend in Nils Roth. What happened there with your goalie situation this year?
We tried to bring the highest quality of players possible, and someone from the University of Louisville that plays every game speaks for himself. So he was great player, great guy on the locker room, and he did a great job. But Louisville called him back to start preseason, and Nils Roth, who was a Pima player before, was there throughout the whole summer, was training hard, and once he got his opportunity against Coachella, the last regular season game, he had an amazing game, and now you can see the performance in the last 2 playoff games, and he was there solid, not silly mistakes, as we like to say, and he has been a big part of the result that we got this past weekend.
Yeah, those 3 saves he made in the first half in that last regular season game, they were amazing. Any goalkeeper would be proud to have made those saves. They were just something else. And at the time, the FC Tucson was down 1-0. So he kept them right on pace so they could get that second on the second half and draw that final game.
100%. That was an amazing game by him. And, it's one of those moments where he has the opportunity and he takes advantage of it and he moved forward.
Yeah, certainly did. Sebastian, I'm gonna go a little off the board here from the talk about the playoffs and what you've got lying ahead. We'll get back to that in a second. I just want people who are watching to understand the path that you've taken to get here back, with Tucson, FC Tucson, after being a player, of course. But what's a guy from Colombia ending up in Lamoni, Iowa, and then Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and then Tucson, Arizona. I mean, how did you get to where you are now?
Let me summarize it. So I grew up in Colombia, little island called San Andres, and then after that I moved to Bogota, where I got to play at a high level there. After that, I went on tryouts to Argentina, then Germany, and eventually I just ended up playing with the Werder Bremen academies in Germany for 2 years, which was an amazing life experience. Once I'm done with that, of course, it's the business of soccer is tough when you're an international, not from that country. So I decided to come study in the US, and I have family friends that went to Grayson University to play soccer, and I ended up there playing soccer for 3 years, which was a great experience. In one of those summers, well, 2 of those summers, I was able to come and play for FC Tucson, and I had an amazing experience, and of course made good connections with John and all the staff at that point. Then after my time at Grayson, I had the opportunity to go to Duquesne University as an assistant, and I moved there with my family, and we did a great job with the program, changing some things and getting good results, getting to conference finals. And then John, having that connection with John Perlman, the president of the club right now, he brought me back once he took over as a head coach in 22 for the League One team. And I had that experience under my belt. And so, yeah, that's how I came back. And now I can say that Tucson has been an amazing place for myself professionally and for my family as well.
Sebastian, what type of music do you like? There's a reason why I'm asking you this. And what type of music do the guys listen to kind of pump them up before the game? There's a reason why I'm asking you this. I'll tell you after your answer.
All right. I like a lot of Latin music. Mostly in Spanish. You can tell every kind of music, reggaeton, bachata, merengue, salsa. I really like to listen to all of it. And in the locker room, you have a little bit of everything. You got the Brazilians, you got the Colombians with their salsa or reggaeton. And of course, we got the English and the Australian guys with their type of music as well. So,
as an aside right here, Elian Aguilar, one of the players, the leading scorer, he has his own little boombox.
That's it.
He will play it anywhere and everywhere, and you can just get that vibe, that Latino salsa vibe going.
That's right.
Well, then, if I had known that, we would have made a different Huddle poll question. But see, every week we've got a poll question, and normally, Coach Pineda, it's sports related, but there really isn't a hot sports topic going on right now that we wanted to touch. So when that happens, we come up with something different. And so, what is your 1980s favorite one-hit wonder? Now, if you're not familiar with these songs because you grew up in Colombia, I understand. But
yeah,
the choices are "Take on Me" from Aha, "Come On Eileen," and 867-5309. And I'm going to go with "Take on Me." I think it's a much better song than the other two. I think Pat feels differently. I will let him speak here. And do you know, before we get Pat's opinion, did you know these songs or no?
Unfortunately, I do not know these songs.
Oh, no. Okay. We should have gone with Latin songs.
Yeah, we should have gone with Latin songs. But then
Pat, give me a quick one. A, B, or C.
I went with A. But
Yeah.
I when we're done, before we sign off, I'll go through my logic.
Okay. And Dave, real quickly.
I'm going to go with B.
B. All right.
Good
Very
one.
good.
Good one.
Let's take it back to soccer here for a quick second, Coach. FC Tucson started as a PDL team, Premier Development League. Then there was a big jump to USL League One, where it was pretty much 2 steps under Major League Soccer, like if I'm not mistaken, right? Now you're back to USL League Two. Not as bad a travel schedule. I know the fans like it when it's a Tucson team, not kind of connected to the Phoenix team. They want it to be its own team. What's your thought about where FC Tucson is as a franchise? If anybody would know, it would be you, based on your experience as a former player and now a coach.
I think that when they founded the club, they did an amazing job at the PDL level. They were a powerhouse. Me as a player, I wanted to come and play with FC Tucson because I knew the facilities and the type of summer I could have here. And then they moved into USL League One, and John had a great run into the playoffs in 21, and they have built. They have created opportunities for many players to continue their playing career, and I think it's a well-known club around the country. And I don't know what's going to happen moving forward, but I know John and the staff and the admin side of things are working very hard to potentially make the jump back into the pro levels. So that's the hope, and I think that's what FC Tucson belongs with everything we have.
You think so? Because it's almost, I feel like you found a home here at USL League 2. You did really well as a PDL. It was a little tougher with USL 1, not just, on the field, but also financially with the travel. And you guys are playing games in Georgia for
yes.
Across the country. You don't think you found a home here? I know John said last year he wanted to eventually take it back to USL League 1, but do the fans really want that? I feel like the fans enjoy where you are at now, or is the plan still to go back to USL League 1?
That is a great question. I do agree. We are getting the fan base is there.
Question for John, probably.
It is a good question for John.
John Coleman, the
correct. But I know that whenever it's pro soccer, it has a different meaning to it, right? It comes with all the investment, all that. How would I call that? All that spice that it comes with it. And as an organization. My guess is that you aim to be in one of those environments, and us having been there, and John being there, he knows how to run a club at that level. He knows what to do. So I know his goal is that, but I also know that we can, be a powerhouse at the USL2 level, just like we were back in the days.
I think one of the things that needs to be part of that too is being at a competitive level, and really at this league we're in right now too. We really are at a great competitive level, as obvious by the fact that we're now in the final 8 teams. But really, that's the thing are the games entertaining? Are they exciting? And they're just as exciting and entertaining at 2 as they were at League 1.
Dave, the quality of soccer, I think, is very strong.
Oh, very much so. I mean, we've had guys who've come through and won the college player of the year the following year after playing at FC Tucson. And we've had Aaron Long, who ended up making the U.S. Men's national team for a number of appearances. And we had Donnie Toya, who played in the league for 8-10 years. Right. So there's really quality players coming through this. The only really difference I've kind of felt in the 2 different types are this season is a short season, May, June, and July. Whereas when we were in League 1, that season goes quite long, from April to October.
That's right.
So as much as I like moving up, and I've really enjoyed the competitiveness and how entertaining the games are, and how well John and Seba and all of the guys put together these teams with such great talent.
I think a lot of fans feel that way.
Yeah, I do too. I think you're right.
Do you follow the women's game at all, Coach Pineda? Any thoughts on the women's Olympics and Team USA upcoming?
I do follow it a little bit. I know the US keeps producing very good players at the women's level. I also know that Europe is catching up in terms of their leagues and the quality of players that they have. So I'm looking forward to see what's going to happen in the Olympics. It's going to be very competitive for the US and countries like Spain, England, France, countries that are more ready to compete.
And certainly it's one of those ones where for the women, it's the most important tournament every other 2 years from the World Cup. For the men, it's under 23 players. Yeah. The U.S. is also in that. And then 3 players who are over 23. So the tournament for the men doesn't have the cachet that big major tournaments have in other men's soccer. But for the women, it's still a significantly important thing. And I think it's really been helpful that other teams have become better in women's soccer to make it as highly competitive as it is. You wouldn't have been able to say 20 years ago, there are 6 teams that could probably win the gold. And now you can say there's probably more than 6 teams that can.
Interesting. Good analysis, Dave. Sebastian, I'm going to take it back to the playoffs and what lies ahead. Project 510 coming up next on Friday. You'll be in Peoria. Tell me about the travel and what that does on a team as well, and then the weekend as a whole. You get past that when you've got another game on Sunday.
It's gonna be tough traveling Thursday morning. We go into Chicago, then we take a bus for 2.5 hours to get to our hotel, rest that night, and then of course get up next day, and we have a game at 3:30 p.m. Central Time, I believe is the time. But I think that the guys are ready for it. We had to go 4 times to California this summer. We played back-to-back games in California, and then just driving back after it. So the fact that we're flying and we get to spend the night in the hotel and all that stuff, it just makes it different. But I think the guys are excited. They're ready to perform on Friday. Hopefully getting the opportunity to play on the Sunday game. That is the national semifinal.
This team, Project 510, is that the same name as the USL League One team that won the championship, or they're an affiliate of the USL League One team that won the championship? Clear that up a little bit.
They are what we would call the developmental team for the Oakland Roots.
Okay.
That's the team in California. So there's a lot of young technical players that have been training and playing around the professional players, which that means that there is certain level to it, because you don't get to that level if you're not good enough. So it's going to be very competitive. I expect those guys to be at a very high level.
Dave, you get the final question. We'll bring it home with you. Any thoughts or questions or comments for Coach Seba, as you call him?
Well, first of all, I just want to thank him for all that he's done for the club this year. And one of the things I've noticed about it seems like not only are all of the guys work together as a team, which I know sounds kind of trite, but this is such a good team that you have such depth that you can bring on Elian Aguilar in the 79th minute, and he's got 10 goals. He leads the team in goals. So maybe if you would just talk about how important the depth and the positions and the substitutions that you make, how important are they?
I think that was one of the basis of my recruiting, being able to have enough good players to bring in and change the game. And I found out throughout the summer that it's not easy to manage, because every good player wants to play. But throughout the summer, I had the opportunity to see players in different environments, when we were down, when we were up, players that understood their role very well. Lars, as you know, Dave, he was on the bench the whole year. And then in the last 2 playoff games, he was our best player, and he scored a winning goal against Ventura. So it just tells me about the depth that I had throughout the summer. And I knew the quality that we had. I just kept trusting them, and they kept getting to know each other, and they kept believing that we could do it. And here we are. So.
All right, Coach Sebastian Pineda of FC Tucson, congrats on the success so far this year, and we'll be rooting for you Friday. Keep representing Tucson well. Very exciting, this playoff run, and maybe you can continue for a little while longer. Thanks so much for joining us here for a couple of minutes on the Huddle.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having me, and hopefully we can get those 2 games on the road and keep going.
There you go.
Good luck, Seba.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, that was FC Tucson head coach Sebastian Pineda. Dave, any thoughts on what he had to say before we we'll finish it up with and go back to our poll question? What do you think of their chances this weekend?
It's going to be, I would think, probably their toughest test, as you would expect it to be, down to the final 8 teams. But as you mentioned before, this is a development team for the higher league. So these are some really quality players. But I feel like, as he mentioned, getting these guys to work together, play together, and all of them be in the right spot and so forth. And he mentioned Lars Walczak, midfielder, who just did an amazing job. He was just a beast at turning the ball around. He would just track guys down like he was a dog biting at their legs and take it away from them. So and he didn't, and as coach mentioned, he only started 2 games before that. So it's really, I think, going to be whether we have the great depth to be able to overcome that. But I think there's a good possibility, and certainly, we've reached new heights by reaching this level. So continue the new heights on Friday and hopefully on Sunday as well.
That would be amazing. Yeah, good stuff.
All right, Dave, and Pat, let's wrap it up with our Huddle poll question and
All right.
see how these results are doing. That's the question. Let's see if do we have results, any early results yet? Take on Me, or so to go back here a second. Which of the 1980s one-hit wonders is your favorite? Take on Me, Come On Eileen, or 8675309.
Yep.
To me, and I'll let Pat talk here a second. To me, Take on Me is just a better song. I think that 8675309 is just extremely catchy.
Yeah.
And Come On Eileen was like an early MTV video, from the early 80s. But Take on Me, I think a better video, but just a better song.
Here's what I'll say. I'll say this. Yeah, you're right about 8675309, Jenny. It was just catchy and it was popular. I'm with Dave. I really like Come On Eileen, Dex Simpson's Night Runner. The video was good, all that. But I think the reason why I picked Aha and Take on Me was because it really kind of changed MTV a little bit too with that video. Remember, it was just so like
did the switching from color
right.
to black
Dave
and
and
white.
I probably remember it more than you, Jason, but it just blew your mind. How did they do that technically? Go from line cartoon drawings to step into that mirror, and all of a sudden it's it's live action. It was amazing stuff. I think that's why, to me, it was not only the song but the video too.
Yeah, everybody who caught it for the first time was definitely taken aback by the amazing cinematography, whatever you want to call it, that they did with it. And it definitely set it a new level. When I picked my choice, I just picked Come On Eileen because it was a crazy song and it was fun. It wasn't like too poppy, but it was poppy enough to be fun, and that's why I think I chose it. But Aha's Take on Me was a really excellent song, and that video took it to a whole nother level.
And Come On Eileen was there's a lot of Euro influence on that too. Maybe you're attracted to that, Dave, because of your big soccer love.
You're absolutely right. It's very
Euro
true.
or Australia?
It's very true.
And
I think they were European. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I thought, but it definitely had a Euro sound for sure.
Yeah, for sure. They had that sound in them.
Yep.
Yeah. And that was a whole era of bands that were sort of like that. If you'd have put this list up and you'd have put Haircut 100's Love Plus One, I'd have picked that song because I loved that song. That was like
we found a list of VH1's top 100 one-hit wonders, and these were like 3 of the top 5. We just picked these 3. So
yeah, that's what you do on a slow summer day.
Yeah, that's it.
When we don't have a hot sports question. But all right, Dave, good stuff. Thanks for joining us here on the Huddle and giving us a little context with the soccer. You had some good insights there.
Absolutely, my pleasure, and it's great working with you guys day in and day out as well.
Yeah,
right back at you. Awesome.
Assignment desk manager at K-Gun. All right, for Dave and Pat, I'm Jason Barr. This has been the Huddle. Thanks so much, everybody, and we'll catch you next time.